Hey, and happy Friday, happy Leo season, and happy new moon that is happening on the 4th of August, depending on where you are in the world. We don't just have the Leo new moon, we also have the Mercury retrograde beginning the same day. And we're also now in the build up to the 8-8 Leo Lionsgate portal of infinite potential, really, and a manifestation opportunity. So today I'm going to be covering 3 things in this video. So I've got my little list here with my 3 points that I want to cover, and we're going to go into a little bit more detail. Excuse me, but firstly, welcome to my YouTube channel, Evolve with Grace, with me, Stella Grace. Thank you for being here. I hope you have a super weekend planned ahead and enjoying. I'm in Britain at the moment, enjoying the British summertime, what we actually are having. I hope you are well and enjoying the weather wherever you are in the world. Let's start. So we're going to look at the Leo new moon. We're going to look at the Mercury retrograde starting on the same day. So those two have a synergy that we're going to discuss, and they're giving Mercury retrograde's giving the Leo new moon a theme, which we're going to discuss that synergy. And thirdly, we're also going to discuss the build up now to the 8-8 Lionsgate portal, and not only the manifestation opportunity that's there and why it's around infinite potential, but also how we can bring that tangibly in, and which actually Mercury retrograde is also supporting us with. So a little about me and how I work. I actually love astrology from an evolutionary perspective. So if you've seen any of my previous work, you will know that Evolve with Grace is a theme and something I'm really passionate about, inspiring the collective to evolve as I evolve. So we're in it together, and we get to have these beautiful conversations about personal development, spiritual development, astrology as a tool, other things as tools. I'm really passionate and keen about making tools accessible to support us with our development and with our evolution. So let's get into it. So some opportunities around the Leo new moon. So on the 4th, we have the Leo new moon exact, and we have Mercury retrograde beginning that day. So this new moon in Leo has all the Leo vibes, but it also has a flavour of Mercury retrograde. So let's break that down. So the Leo new moon invites us to begin to be a little bit more bold if we're not already. It supports us with an opportunity for being our own sovereignty, being our own personal power, of course in a positive sense, in a sense that is comfortable in oneself, solid on oneself. It invites us to think about our value. It invites us to think more royally about our own self and our own worth. It's a great energy for utilising if we need a bit more confidence. And of course, we can turn on and tap into this stuff any day of the year, as I always say. So please don't wait for the astrology to be the right time. The right time is always now. But I talk about these flavours with the view to bring in an opportunity to grow and an opportunity to utilise the aspects that are within all of us already. So we all have all 12 signs, excuse me, we all have all 12 signs of the zodiac within us already. So yes, we may have the sun, moon, rising, Mercury, Venus, all of the planets, we have them in a specific sign of the zodiac somewhere in our birth chart. So the moment we were born denotes where the stars were at that moment and how they influence us. So they make up our personality. But the interesting thing to remember, if we take a back step from our specifics, and of course, you know, as a Cancerian sun, I will have a lot of vitality and a lot of energy and a lot of life force around Cancerian themes. My moon sign will be a strong influence in those specific areas that I have them, of course. But why we all have all 12 of the zodiac signs in us is because we are a reflection of the universe. The universe is within us. And so we have all of the planets somewhere in the zodiac. And even if we don't have a planet touching a sign, we still have a flavour of everything within us, as we are all made of the same thing, stardust, however you want to think about it, or whatever your creator may be. We can all, even if you don't believe, in astrology, you might be in the wrong place, but, even if you were considering some of these themes, but not necessarily, they weren't necessarily a strong resonance for you, but food for thought. Whatever you believe in, the God, the universe, source, a creator, however you resonate, there's still a lot of interesting food for thought with astrology in terms of our influences, in terms of our human complexities, because that's the thing, and that's why astrology is so much deeper than just the sun sign. Because of course 1/12 of the population is not all just like a Leo, for example. We have so many more flavors than that, and that's where the whole of the zodiac fits in, and that's why I understand it to lend itself to us to have all the parts of the zodiac within it. And also, as an addition to that, if we think about how we are all of the aspects of each of those signs as well, the lower and the more evolved one, using the word lower. But what I mean by that is unhealed aspects, where we may be in our triggering mode, we may be triggered by, an emotional response, we may be in our default mode, we may be in a subconscious mode, we may have not yet evolved in that area to be in the more higher evolved aspect of that sign. So a little background on some of the support that the whole zodiac offers us and can reflect within us. Now, in terms of Leo, so as I was saying, we can all access this energy. We will all have a little bit of it within us anyway, even if other areas are stronger. With a Leo new moon, it's a real invitation, as with any new moon, to begin to set intentions for new beginnings, new projects, new start for the new lunar month ahead. So if you like your rituals, or if you like to utilize any of these energies and around the moon particularly, because we're so governed by the moon. Like, I've seen this in action and felt this in action. So as a Cancerian sun, I am strongly influenced by the moon. But if we think about how, if you're lucky enough to live near the coast, and if we think about how the tides are impacted by a full moon, we can see this in action. Like, this isn't just me banging on about fluffy pie in the sky stuff. We can see how the moon phases directly, physically impact on the tides. So we're very basic stuff. We're made up of whatever, 80-90% water, whatever that scientific figure is. And so we can see how we, as predominantly water, are impacted by the moon's phases. Now, full moons illuminating, highlighting things, coming to fruition, ready to let things go before the new lunar phase of the new moon. And so here we are in new moon energy. Well, very nearly. At time of recording here is the 2nd of August, so just 2 days before the new moon, giving us a bit of preparation time. I like to really work consciously with these energies, either on the exact point, so on the 4th. I think our new moon here in the UK is exactly around 4 a.m. or 4:18 a.m. And I like to work with the energy in the 2 days after. To me, it feels like it's peaked and it's kind of ready to go. In the build-up energy, to me, and this, see how what feels right to you, but to me it feels like the energy in the build-up is still kind of producing, whereas when we get to the exact peak and beyond, it's kind of like the energy is ready to utilize, it's there, and the phase or the point is in action. So Saturday day here in the UK, Sunday onwards, great time to be looking at intention setting. What seeds can we plant in terms of our boldness, in terms of all the leadership qualities that I mentioned about Leo? What new ventures or new habits or new rituals or new events might we like to begin to think about bringing in that will be really supported by Leo energy? So it's great for getting things started. Leo is a fire sign. It's dynamic. It's got that bold, warm, playful, romantic energy as well. That's the other thing. It's a great time to be starting new ventures and also new connections. It's a really great time for bringing in some warmth into all your connections, and most importantly, of course, starting with the self. Now, the caveat to all of that, and particularly a caveat to the boldness and the dynamic energy, so those things are at play, but where we talk about, as I was talking about the zodiac generally, where we have these contradictions, and this is probably why I imagine for most of the skeptics out there, or most of the people who don't resonate with astrology, I can kind of probably understand why, and it might be because there is so many contradictions. So we can have, you know, on the one hand, we can have the Leo boldness, for example, of the sun and moon in Leo that's on a new moon. And at the very same day, we can have Mercury retrograde starting, which is a very, very different energy. And so we can be, again, aware of all of the different energies, all of the complexity of being human, all of the magnificence and vastness and diversity within the whole universe, within the zodiac, within ourselves. So I can understand why things can feel conflicting, because, you know, let's be honest, that's life. It's very conflicting and very contradictory, isn't it? So we have our themes, and they can be on the contrary to each other. So with that in mind, we will still have that access to the dynamic boldness of the Leo fire, but Mercury retrograde is always an invitation to review, reassess, reflect. It's a bit more of an inner journey. It's about not being so bold and forward in terms of checking details over. Now, years gone by, there you may have heard of, or you may not be surprised to hear that Mercury retrograde has had a really bad rap in terms of tech delays, travel delays, miscommunications, things being held up generally, or things being going wrong, being awkward, that kind of energy, or no communication, things being quiet, because it's more of an inward journey. Now, I don't buy into the fear energy. There's so much fear energy out there about astrology, actually, and there has been for many years. I used to have a fear response to astrology. I'd see different things coming in and I think, oh no, what's going to happen? You know, what bad things are going to happen? But I've really, I suppose, grown since then, and now see these things as an opportunity. And of course, with the understanding that, you know, the most amount of growth comes from when times are not smooth. The most amount of growth comes from alchemizing the grit to get to our grace. And so I'm really passionate about this kind of evolutionary work and these evolutionary kind of viewpoints, where we get to look at the less than desirable stuff and see see what wisdom it's got to offer us, see what transformation opportunities are there, see what things we might not have considered before. And Mercury retrograde is one of the things that really supports with that. So it's absolutely nothing to fear. It's an opportunity, as with the more flow aspect and as with the smoother rides. Mercury retrograde is actually a great opportunity to think about, are there any details that would benefit from us to go over? Now, details specifically is a great word to think about with this Mercury retrograde, because the first half of the Mercury retrograde period, which is about 3 weeks altogether, the first half is in Virgo. So Virgo is the sign that loves to get down into the nitty-gritty of the details, of the finer points, of analyzing, actually making sure that all of the nitpicking is done. Now, we don't want to go too far into that either, so there can be a rabbit hole with, again, the more unconscious aspect of Virgo can tend towards perfectionism and looking for critique, looking really with a critical eye over those details and over the nitty-gritty, maybe kind of looking at that microscopic point rather than the bigger picture. So those are some interesting Virgo themes to consider, but how we can use that energy for our development is also because Virgo is like the goddess of self-care. So when we remember to schedule it in, when we remember to structure it into our routine, because Virgo loves routine. So if you think about that attention to detail that Virgo energy lends itself to so beautifully, we can see that actually we can create brand new routines here. We can create self-care routines. Now this is, I have found, a game changer for my own well-being. And as I was discussing with somebody just a couple of days ago, where it's so easy to impact on our soul through self-care not being prioritized. We feel great when we do it, but it's really easy to be one of the first things that slips out of the routine. So for me, it's an absolute game changer to have at least 5 minutes in the morning and at least 5 minutes before I go to bed. Now that's actually not very much, and I wouldn't suggest that that's conducive to great well-being. That's just my minimum, and that happens as a daily practice. That's very Virgo, and actually that's very Virgo in energy to be able to instill and stick to a regular routine of self-care. Now I would recommend, and what I try and do as well, is at least an hour, at least an hour a week, or a couple of hours every couple of weeks, for either something really nourishing or for some self-care. And again, it can look like anything. So it can look like, it could look like the massage, but please don't feel that it has to be that. It doesn't have to be, the stereotypical self-care of the spa day. It really doesn't. It can be, watching a lovely movie with friends, or just hanging out somewhere that brings you kind of a sense of comfort. It could be walking on the beach. It could be treating yourself to something new that you can afford but you wouldn't maybe normally buy for yourself, something like that. Gifting yourself in some way, either with time or nourishment, or something that's really special to you. And also Virgo energy lends itself really well to nourishment. Now Virgo energy, as well as being she's the goddess of the zodiac and a goddess of self-care, Virgo energy is also about nourishing our system, our health in particularly. So this is why it's a really great time to start, thinking of Leo new moon, to start with gusto a really good self-care routine, because that's Virgo. So we can see the synergy of the two aspects here. Because Leo new moon energy is so great at starting things with its dynamism, we've got the opportunity to start with a new schedule, a new routine that supports our well-being on every level. Virgo goddess energy is definitely about the holistics. It can really think easily about how am I doing mentally, spiritually, emotionally, physically, and as part of the collective, I always like to talk about the 5 areas for our holistic well-being. So that energy lends itself really well to that. Now, as an addition to that, I would also suggest it's a great time for us, and this is certainly something I am regularly mindful of for my own practices and development, is around our inner critique and our rhetoric, our inner rhetoric. So Mercury retrograde, particularly the first half of it being in Virgo, with that meticulous edge to sometimes lean in towards perfectionism and analysing. How are we speaking to ourselves? This is something else I'm really passionate about, because we can do this really unconsciously with our however many hundreds of thousands of thoughts it is we have a day. So how many of those thousands and thousands of thoughts per day about yourself or in your own kind of inner world are nourishing? How many of those hours per day do you spend really cultivating a self-care relationship, a sense of self-worth? Again, we're leaning into Leo here as well with the self-value, and Virgo bringing in the opportunity to make it really caring and really supportive. Thinking about how we speak to ourselves, how we go about our day, how we kind of be our own best friend. Those are really great themes to think about. So that's a lovely synergy between the Leo new moon and the Mercury retrograde. The second half of Mercury retrograde is in Leo as well. So by the 14th of August, we're going to have the Sun and Mercury in Leo. So that will be, again, Mercury retrograde is still an invitation to review, reflect, reassess, look at the inner world, and it's going to be in the Leo themes. So it's going to be around looking at, or an opportunity. You may have other things. Again, we don't limit ourselves to astrology. We don't limit ourselves to the zodiac signs. We can use them as additional opportunities. So there may be other things that you want to bring in or call in or begin anew or strengthen. And there may be other things that you want to review. But Mercury retrograde lends itself really well to that inner process rather than the outer one. Now we've got that bit of a conflict energy again here, as I was saying, like the Leo boldness, the dynamism, the fire energy, the playfulness, the romance. And all of that with Mercury retrograde, all of that energy will be really supported to bring it into an inner level. Now, it's not to say all of our external world stops during Mercury retrograde, because of course it doesn't. But it's to say that, you know, if something isn't working, if something isn't having a forward momentum, the absolute best gift we can give ourselves is kind of a surrender energy to, okay, what is this trying to show me? What can I perhaps process here internally that will always, always, always impact positively on my external world? There's opportunities to slow down a bit with Mercury retrograde, if that resonates. If there's a, you know, if you have been going at it hell for leather with your routine, with work, with life, you know, with all the things that we're juggling, retrogrades always give us an opportunity to kind of slow the pace a little, if that's possible for you, even if that's in your own thinking. Because Mercury is about our thinking, our plans, our ideas, our communication. So those areas may be invited, may be supported for you to just take down a gear, to go a little slower. I actually often find Mercury retrograde better for my communication, because I'm able to kind of deliver with a bit more flow sometimes, because my natural state is quite scattered and quite lively. I talk with my hands a lot because I've got my Mercury's in Gemini, which is very chatty and very all over the place, lots of ideas and lots of quick thinking and wit. So I actually find Mercury retrogrades quite nice for a slower pace. And of course, we'll all have our own experiences. If you have a particular resonance with Mercury retrograde, I'd love to hear about it in the comments, and maybe a bit about your communication style. How do you resonate with, do you resonate with any of the zodiac signs for your communication style, or do you just have an idea about how you deliver and how that may be impacted by the current astrology? I'd love to hear your thoughts, because it's great to you know, throw this about a bit and have a little banter as well, and see how we can you know, look at ourselves. It's all self-reflection, it's all really interesting food for thought, and we get to have these amazing conversations. So that's Leo new moon in a nutshell, and the Mercury retrograde in a nutshell. The two halves of Mercury retrograde, as I mentioned, are important. So just to summarize, the first half being Virgo themes of the details, of the finer points, and of the self-care, and then the second half being of the Leo themes of our own personal power, our own personal sovereignty. Where might we be needing to bulk up on our own confidence? Where might we be beneficial to go into the limelight, but remembering that the caveat to that is we're also asked to look at ourselves internally as well. So how can we shine the limelight on ourselves? How can we, again, dose up on the things that we're needing to bolster our light? Because what Leo does really amazingly, and I always mention this point because I think it's really beautiful, is Leo energy, it knows how to be so warm in itself, warm and comfortable, that it shines that light onto others. That's a more higher or evolved aspect of Leo energy. So that's really beautiful to consider as well. Mercury retrograde can really support with that. Now, lastly, I'm going to come on to, as part of our review and reflection process that the Mercury retrograde offers over these coming days, we might want to use those reviewing opportunities to think about where we're going to bring in some things for our infinite potential on the 8-8 portal. Now again, we can do this any day of the year. Please don't wait for the 8-8 portal, but it's an opportunity, it's an extra opportunity I'm going to invite you to take up, and I will definitely be taking it up as well. So this is not all fluffy in terms of, we're going to talk about some action steps, some grounded reality, some practical guidance around how we do this. Nothing, well no, actually I was going to say nothing lands in our laps. Sometimes things do land in our laps. I'm just going to throw that out there. We have amazing synchronicities, don't we? We have amazing opportunities that land in our laps actually really often. But we also do the work, we also take the action, we also do the steps, and that's also what this is about. So the 8-8 portal is significant, and there may be other astrologers that will talk about this in super depth of a more astrological constellation point of view, but for me the energetics of it are around the infinite potential. So we've got the 8, so to me it's like the numerology of this is really lovely. Numbers have energy, maths has energy, we've got these beautiful languages of the universe and around our numbers that make up these beautiful opportunities for utilizing. So the 8 being the infinity symbol, and it's an 8-year. So why this feels really significant for me around our infinite potential is because we've kind of got like a 888 thing going on here, rather than just the 8-8. We've actually got the triple because we're in an 8-year in numerology wise. So I did a video, I think it was around you'll be able to find it on my Kind of Sound shows that are here on my YouTube channel, and this one's called the Year of the Dragon, because the 8-year, it's a really beautiful topic, and I would really invite you to go back and watch that, because that energy is still current. That's for the whole Chinese year ahead up to beginning of next April. So we're still working in the Year of the Dragon and this number 8 2024 energy, and it's really beautiful because the 8 and the Year of the Dragon are both features of bringing into practical reality, bringing into our lifetime, our infinite potential. So I feel we have an extra kind of enhancement to that energy, this 8-8, because we have a 888. So what, and again, triple, anything in 3s always stands out to me. So it's like 3s, I think the universe saying, hey, this is a bit of a neon light here. You're welcome to get on this. So the 8-8 energy, I would invite you to think about things. This is deepest desire stuff. This is still heart energy because it's Leo. Leo rules the area of the body of the heart. So this is about what does make your heart and soul sing. And again, I talk about this stuff regularly because this is really beautiful for keeping in mind all the time. But what things can we be working on consciously to bring in if we're not already? Or to give some extra energy to the deepest desires that we're working on and bringing in already. So it's really beautiful to think about, okay, if you're not happy in your home, if you're not happy in your job, if you're not happy in your relationship, or how could these things be supported and made even better? How can we meet that part of our hearts that absolutely might be secretly yearning for more? Those things are things that can be achieved in our lifetime, else we wouldn't be yearning for them. That's my firm belief. I don't feel it's a cruel universe or it's a cruel creator to say, here, have your heart and your heart's desires, but you can't access them in this lifetime. There might be barriers. Again, there'll be opportunities for growth. That will be about my view of what the barriers are. How do we overcome the next level of opportunity, the next learning opportunity to bring in our heart's desires, or what limiting beliefs might we need to drop, what negative mental rhetoric is getting in the way. So it all ties in really beautifully with all of the current energies. What things do we need to let go of? What routines, what habits, what details are not serving us for moving forward, for meeting our highest potential, for meeting our heart's desires and making them bring in and happen. So it's a really, really beautiful time. Now, in terms of actual ritual, if you like, if you want to know what I do, it's really super simple, and it's nothing, it's nothing too crazy and wild. I just, light candles, or I journal. Normally around a full moon, I might burn stuff or let stuff go or clear out clutter, that kind of thing, emotionally and physically. Great time for release. Of course, we can do that anytime though, with positive benefits. New moons are about intention setting. So I normally write them out because I think black and white's really good. I sometimes voice note them as well, and play it back at numerous points throughout the day. Just maybe if I was cooking the dinner or something, I might have it on. Again, always before bed and always upon waking if you've got specific intentions that you're working on. And that's because it's getting the brain, it's giving the brain the repetition of getting that message used to being logged by your brain. And the more we have it logged in here, the more we'll start seeing it. Our thoughts, our thinking, our inner world creates our external reality. That's been proven by, quantum physics and science and all of the things. So we want to keep that repetitive pattern of the things that we're consciously bringing in, however that looks for you. You could have it on memos on the fridge. You could have it in a diary, or you can have it in other various forms. This is where some people might use a vision board. I actually use the actual intentions, but if you're visual, you could use pictures. I always light a candle around the time that I'm consciously bringing in. I always voice them. So even if I don't do the voice note thing and replay it, I voice them out, and I thank the universe and I thank myself for bringing them in. And then comes to the action steps. So we're kind of stating the intentions, we're putting that out there. It's kind of like making wishes, really. And I get how that sounds, but then it's up to us to be A, open enough to receive them, and B, take the practical action steps that we can for them, physically, tangibly coming in. Now, the year of the dragon is also another facet that really supports us with that, because it's actually the year of the wood dragon. So that in the 5 Chinese elements, this year is a wood dragon year, and that is, dragons are about evolving to your highest potential. And so wood being the earth element, we can bring our highest potential into this earthly realm, into this lifetime, into the material plane. It's really stunning energy. It's really, really stunning aligned energy at this time and this year. So if there's things you're yearning for, if there's things you're wanting to bring in, please, please, please know that they are available for you, with maybe just a few little tweaks, maybe just a little bit of letting go of limiting beliefs, maybe just a bit of a rejig on your pattern. I know that's something for me I have to keep coming back to, reminding myself about scheduling self-care and doing a bit more than my minimum 5 minutes a day, 5 minutes in the morning and 5 minutes in the evening. Doing a bit more than that as well. So see what things sing to you. See if you have any others that you'd like to share. I'd always love to hear other suggestions, other ways that you might set intentions and bring in your manifestations, other thoughts you have for letting things go or bringing things in, and we could get a little bank going of resources, of tools, of wellness tips. I love it. So please do share. And other than that, I'm going to be doing another video actually on the 8/8 portal nearer the time, maybe the day or two before. So I'll be touching base back in then around that energy specifically, but it is all stunningly aligned. So enjoy the new moon energy, enjoy the Mercury retrograde for all that has to gift us. And I will speak to you again before the 8/8 portal. Much love.